Welcome back to Exciting Europe.
In this video, we will explore Santa Maria Gloriosa dei Frari, commonly known simply as the Frari. This basilica contains numerous masterpieces of painting and sculpture, including Titian's huge Assumption and his Pala Pesaro. And in the sacristy, one of Giovanni Bellini's most beautiful works. Here you'll also find many important Doge's tombs, a statue by Donatello, and a magnificent 15th century choir. You'll see the monument to Titian on one side, and Canova's heart interred on the opposite side.
Centrally located in Venice's San Polo district, the Frari has the city's second tallest bell tower. It lies between the Church of San Pantalone, the Scuola Grande di San Rocco, and the Scuola Grande San Giovanni Evangelista. Basilica is open from Monday to Thursday 9 a.m. to 7:30 p.m., Fridays from 9 a.m. to 11 p.m., Saturdays from 9 a.m. to 6 p.m., and Sundays and public holidays 1 p.m. to 6 p.m. The entrance fee is €5. Before entering the church through the Gothic doorway, you'll see sculptures above. These include the Risen Christ from 1581, attributed to Alessandro Vittoria, and the Virgin and Child with Saint Francis, dating from the previous century and attributed to the workshop of Bartolomeo Bon the Younger.
As you enter the church, the huge interior is truly impressive. The basilica, with its external length of 102 meters, is one of the two largest churches in Venice, along with San Zanipolo. It features a cruciform layout with an aisled nave of 8 bays connected by wooden tie beams. The largest altarpiece in all of Venice, Titian's magnificent Assumption, is located some 100 meters away in the apse. This masterpiece is particularly striking when viewed from the entrance, and is beautifully framed by the Arch of the Monks ritual choir. Our tour of the basilica will begin slowly, proceeding clockwise from the left as we enter. While it's hard to ignore the beautiful choir and the other monuments before us, please be patient. The church is vast, and it's easy to miss some of the most important parts. We also want to avoid unnecessary back and forth movement within this huge space, which can be quite tiring. In the first part of our video, we will explore the north aisle of the church. On our left, we'll see the Altar of the Crucifix, followed by the Mausoleum of Canova, the Mausoleum of Doge Giovanni Pesaro, Titian's Pala Pesaro, and the monument to Bishop Jacopo Pesaro. Throughout our visit to the basilica, you might hear an occasional sound playing in the background. This sound emanates from the Emiliani chapel, which will be our last stop before we move on to explore and discuss the stunning ritual choir.
Often overlooked due to the imposing pyramid-like Mausoleum of Canova is the Altar of the Crucifix. Designed in 1672 by Baldassare Longhena, the Altar of the Crucifix features sculptures by Giusto Lecour. Baldassare Longhena was a prominent architect who primarily worked in Venice, where he became one of the greatest exponents of Baroque architecture of the era. His most famous work is the elegantly decorated Basilica di Santa Maria della Salute, begun in 1631 as a votive offering to the Virgin Mary for the city's deliverance from the plague. This distinctive two-domed church, situated on the peninsula between the Canal Grande and the Zaidere, stands as one of the city's most recognizable landmarks. To the right of the Altar of the Crucifix is the Mausoleum of Canova.
The magnificent mausoleum honoring Antonio Canova, the celebrated neoclassical sculptor, was erected in 1827 by his devoted students, who thoughtfully inscribed their signatures in neat red lettering beneath each sculpture. The monument embraces the timeless form of the pyramid, a design echoed in various other funerary chapels. A poignant scene unfolds at the base. The weeping lion of St. Mark stands beside a winged figure embodying the genius of Canova, whose extinguished torch is inverted in sorrow. They guard a partially open door, symbolizing the passage to the afterlife, towards which an urn containing the artist's heart is being carried. Canova's body, meanwhile, rests in his birthplace of Pesaro, approximately 60 kilometers from Venice. On the opposite side of the monument, female figures personifying the arts approach the tomb in solemn funerary procession. Above the entrance, two angels reverently hold a profile portrait of Canova, encircled by a serpent devouring its own tail, an ancient emblem of immortality. On the bottom of the monument, there is a Latin inscription, "To Antonio Canova, the foremost sculptor of his age, to the most esteemed member of the Venetian College for Promoting Fine Arts, from the contribution of all of Europe, in the year 1827. The year 1827 indicates when the monument was erected, which was 5 years after Canova's death in 1822.
The monumental mausoleum of Doge Giovanni Pesaro, who passed away in 1659, stands as a remarkable and somewhat eccentric example of Baroque artistry, and undoubtedly ranks among the most elaborate funerary monuments in Venice. Attributed to the renowned architect Baldassare Longhena, it features striking sculptures by the German artist Melchior Barthel. By any measure, it is an extraordinary creation. Barthel's colossal figures of Moors are believed to depict prisoners captured during the Venetian Republic's conflicts with the Ottoman Empire in Crete. Elevated high above, Doge Pesaro is depicted as if addressing onlookers, positioned beneath a tasseled baldachin crafted from red marble, while two elongated, monstrous figures appear to support his sarcophagus. The inscriptions in huge lettering read, "Lived 70 years, died in the year 1659. Here he lived again in the year 1669, which actually highlights the year the monument was erected."
Commissioned by Bishop Jacopo Pesaro in 1519 but not completed until 1526, Titian's Madonna di Ca Pesaro, more commonly known as the Pala Pesaro, which translates from Italian as the Pesaro altarpiece, referring to a large single-panel painted altarpiece, is a breathtaking masterpiece of composition and color. The artwork depicts the Madonna and Child with attendant saints, positioned above members of the Pesaro family. Notably, the boy gazing directly at the viewer is Jacopo's nephew and heir, Leonardo, while the bishop and his brother are portrayed in profile in somewhat formal poses. Bishop Pesaro famously commanded the Venetian fleet to victory against the Ottoman Turks in 1502, reclaiming the Greek island of Lefkas. At the time, he served the Borgia Pope Alexander VI, whose coat of arms is prominently displayed on the magnificent crimson banner, held aloft by a soldier who turns towards his Turkish captive. Interestingly, this Pala Pesaro was not Titian's only commission for Bishop Pesaro. The bishop had previously commissioned a kneeling portrait of himself, now housed in Antwerp, where he is depicted being presented to St. Peter by the Pope. The majestic figure of St. Peter also holds a place of prominence in the Pala Pesaro. Titian's innovative and bold decision to place the Madonna off-center, rather than in the traditional central position, introduces a dynamic triangular structure to the composition. The scene is further emphasized by two towering columns that reach towards the heavens. The Madonna herself is rendered with exceptional beauty, and the Christ child appears almost to step from her lap as he playfully interacts with her veil. Above the cloud, two mischievous putti, painted with remarkable freedom of brushstroke, engage with a cross.
Next to the Pala Pesaro is monument to Bishop Jacopo Pesaro, who died in 1547. Latin inscription over here says, Jacopo Pesaro, Bishop of Paphos, who conquered the Turks in war and himself in peace, brought from a noble family among the Venetians, to a more noble family among the angels. Here situated awaits the most noble crown in that kingdom of God, with the just judge rendering it. He died in 1547.
Finally, let's step inside the Emiliani chapel. Here, you'll find a marble altarpiece adorned with 10 statues in niches, crafted by the school of Giacopo dalla Masegna in the 15th century. However, the true highlight of this chapel is the fascinating 16th century mechanism of the tower clock. The left mechanism meticulously marked the passage of time using a pendulum. When an hour was completed, this left mechanism would unlock the right one, which in turn activated the hammer to strike the bell the corresponding number of times. Each of these mechanisms was powered by a substantial weight of approximately 50 kilograms. Intriguingly, this clock served to indicate the times for commercial activities within Venice.
Extending into the nave, much like in many cathedrals across England and France, the ritual choir presents a layout less commonly seen in Italian churches. The exquisite choir screen, dating back to 1475, is crafted with Carrara marble and adorned with Istrian stone figures of saints and prophets in relief. Above, it features depictions of 10 apostles and a crucifixion scene with the Virgin Mary and St. John the Evangelist, flanked by angels serving as lecterns beside the two pulpits. While some scholars propose that all these elements are the work of Bartolomeo Bon and Pietro Lombardo, their precise attribution remains a subject of scholarly debate. The magnificent choir stalls, arranged in 3 tiers, were carved by Marco Cosi in 1468 and boast beautifully detailed intarsia decoration created by Lorenzo and Cristoforo Canozzi. Intarsia is a form of wood inlay. It involves creating designs by fitting together small pieces of different colored woods and sometimes other materials like ivory, bone, or mother of pearl into a solid background surface. These pieces are cut and shaped precisely to create intricate patterns, pictures, or scenes. The surface is then polished to be smooth. Intarsia is a difficult and time-consuming decorative technique, requiring a high level of skill, precision, and patience. Even though it has ancient origins, Italian Renaissance from 1400 to 1600 is considered the golden age of Intarsia. It flourished in Italy, where highly skilled artisans created stunningly detailed panels for choir stalls, private studies, and chapels. One of the most famous examples is the one in front of you in Basilica di Santa Maria Gloriosa dei Frari. The sanctuary is clearly visible from the vantage point of the choir.
Dominating the apse is Titian's awe-inspiring Assumption, completed in 1518. As the largest altarpiece in Venice, it is celebrated among his masterpieces for its dynamic composition and vibrant color palette. A particularly memorable figure is the apostle clad in red, depicted from behind with arms outstretched towards the Virgin Mary. This pose visually connects her and the swirling cloud of cherubs to the earthly realm, while a delicate touch is evident in the lowest cherub's foot almost brushing the head of another apostle. The Virgin's gesture conveys a sense of startled stillness as she ascends, leaving behind earthly concerns and preparing to meet God the Father, who appears above as a somewhat imposing figure rendered in deep, dark hues against the golden expanse of heaven. Nearby stands the grand tomb of Doge Niccolò Tron, who died in 1473. A perfectly proportioned monument by Antonio Rizzo, it commemorates a Doge who reigned for just 2 uneventful years, yet was known for his exceptional height and ever-present beard. On the lowest level, a lifelike portrait of Tron stands between elegant statues representing faith and charity. Above this, an inscription recounts his achievements, followed by his effigy resting on a sarcophagus guarded by personifications of the virtues. The uppermost section features 5 niches containing more allegorical figures, which also appear within the frame held by pages bearing the Doge's emblem. Religious elements are less prominent, with the solitary figure of the risen Christ in the lunette at the very top, flanked by the Annunciatory Angel and the Virgin Mary on either side. The rich variety of precious marbles and gilded details contribute to the splendor of this magnificent tomb, widely recognized as one of the most sublime examples of Renaissance funerary art in Venice. Across from this lies the refined tomb of Francesco Foscari, who died in 1457 after a distinguished 34-year reign as Doge. He is depicted in peaceful repose beneath a beautifully crafted canopy, accompanied by statues symbolizing power, wisdom, and justice, the virtues of a righteous ruler. This late Gothic mausoleum is likely the work of Niccolò di Giovanni Fiorentino. To the right of Foscari's monument is a highly treasured painted crucifix, attributed to a Tuscan artist in the circle of Cimabue and dating back to the late 13th century. Removed from its original location within the church in the 17th century due to damage, it underwent restoration at the beginning of the 20th century. To the right of the sanctuary is the Chapel of St. John the Baptist, the south transept with some very interesting tombs and monuments, and finally the sacristy with Bellini's Triptych and Altar of the Reliquaries.
The Chapel of St. John the Baptist houses an altar established in 1436 by Florentine residents of the city. For this altar, they commissioned a statue of their patron saint, John the Baptist, from none other than the renowned sculptor Donatello. This signed and dated work from 1438 marks Donatello's first documented creation in Venice, and it still graces this chapel today. Originally perhaps easily overlooked within a central tabernacle, it has now been moved to a more prominent position. The chapel also contains other gilded polychrome wood statues by lesser-known artists. Donatello's St. John the Baptist was his first sculpture executed in wood, a choice possibly influenced by the ease of transporting the piece from Florence. This magnificent, brightly gilded work bears stylistic similarities to his later and far more celebrated Mary Magdalene, now held in the Museo del Duomo in Florence.
Our exploration of the south transept begins with the tomb of Paolo Savelli, a Roman condottiere, dating from around 1406. This monument holds the distinction of being the first in Venice to incorporate an equestrian statue. Believed to be the work of a Tuscan artist, it exhibits a fascinating blend of Gothic and Renaissance stylistic elements. The statues adorning the marble sarcophagus, though somewhat difficult to discern, have been attributed to the Sienese master Jacopo della Quercia. Above the doorway leading to the sacristy is the elegant tomb of Admiral Benedetto Pesaro, crafted by Giovanni Battista Bregno. Pesaro passed away in Corfu in 1503. His tomb features intriguing reliefs depicting battleships and fortresses, illustrating his victories against the Ottoman Turks. The statue of Mars, created by Baccio da Montelupo in 1537, stands as the sole work in Venice by this versatile Tuscan artist, who excelled as both a sculptor and an architect. Beneath an elaborate canopy executed in a florid Gothic style dating to 1437 lies the sarcophagus of Beato Pacifico, Scipione Bon, a friar of this very church who is believed to have overseen some of its construction. This work is ascribed to the Tuscan artists Michele da Firenze and Nanni di Bartolo, the latter known to have relocated from Florence to Venice around 1424 due to financial difficulties. The polychrome terracotta lunette above depicts the baptism of Christ. The monument to Jacopo Marcello, who met his demise in battle in 1484, while leading the Venetian fleet against the Turks at Gallipoli, deviates from the conventional arrangement of niches and statues. Instead, it features an oval frame and 3 freestanding statues atop a double sarcophagus. While once attributed to Pietro Lombardo, it is now believed to be the work of his Lombard contemporary Giovanni Buora. High up on the wall, a worn fresco depicting the hero's triumph was created by a 15th century artist from the school of Mantegna.
Upon entering the sacristy, our attention is immediately drawn to the exquisite golden altar of the Reliquaries. This elaborate altar features 3 marble reliefs depicting the crucifixion, deposition, and entombment, crafted in 1711 by Francesco Penso Cabianca, as well as gilded wood angels by Andrea Brustolone. Within the tabernacle, created by a Dalmatian goldsmith, rests a reliquary containing the blood of Christ, purportedly mixed with oil from Mary Magdalene's ointment jar, which was brought from Constantinople in 1479. In the apse, still within its original frame made by Jacopo da Faenza, is the magnificent triptych by Giovanni Bellini, painted for this very chapel in 1488. It portrays the Madonna and Child flanked by Saints Nicholas of Bari, Peter, Mark, and Benedict. While often used to describe Bellini's Madonnas, the term jewel-like is particularly fitting here. Viewing it evokes the sensation of gazing into a sacred shrine. The Virgin, resplendent in a glorious blue robe, is seated beneath a golden dome, perhaps alluding to the gold ground mosaics within the Basilica of St. Mark. This triptych was commissioned in memory of Franceschina Pesaro, who passed away in 1478 and is interred here by her 3 sons. The 4 saints depicted were chosen as they share their names with Franceschina's husband and sons.
As we proceed to the south aisle, the most striking feature is the immense Carrara marble monument dedicated to Titian. This impressive structure is elevated above the location traditionally believed to be the final resting place of Venice's most celebrated painter. Commissioned by the Austrian Emperor Ferdinand V from Luigi Zandomeneghi and his son Pietro in 1843, the monument, which includes a relief of Titian's own grand altarpiece, the Assumption, was completed in 1852.
And that brings us to the end of our exploration of the magnificent Basilica di Santa Maria Gloriosa dei Frari. We hope you've enjoyed discovering the incredible art and history held within these walls, from Titian's towering Assumption to Canova's impressive monument. Remember, this is just one of the many stunning basilicas and fascinating museums waiting to be explored across Europe. Join Exciting Europe on our future adventures as we uncover even more of the continent's rich cultural treasures.